This is an odd way of putting it, but showing up is not about you. Showing up is about us. It's a collective experience. Yes, the singular you is important, but the collective, in a way, is everything. We cross-pollinate. We nurture each other. We allow for a greater dynamic force to surge through us than we are often able to do in a singular fashion. The individual is deeply important. Each of us is deeply significant, but the assembly of us, the community of us, is really potent. It attracts an energy that we draw from together. It's like the banquet as opposed to running out for a McDonald's. It just has a different level of value. When you gather together and there is a preparation of food that is clearly made with love, clearly made with the attention to the community that will enjoy it. When people bring things to the table and it's shared, it's different than when you just sit down and throw something together. Showing up is crucial to this process, and being present is essential. And over time, I have watched many of you show up regularly over and over and over. And I know there is a powerful benefit in that. I've also watched many people fall away. Often people I would think were the last people to fall away. There was so much commitment, there was so much involvement, there was so much attunement, and then gone. And then there are people you would never expect who are there all the time. And that showing up is really important. Whether the people who show up receive is another matter. And I can only tell you from the experience of the teacher, the conduit, that the energy comes in, it finds its way to each of you in a very dynamic way. And some of you are sitting there absorbing and waiting and ready for this exchange to happen, this nourishment to take place. And some of you are not. And, you know, I'm not a judge, and I'm not here to say it should be this way or should be that way. The extraordinary thing for the teacher here is the unbelievable hunger and desire to nurture, to fill you up. I cannot explain it. It is the best experience of my week, is sitting with you guys and having this thing come through. And it's really interesting to me because much of the week, it doesn't show up. Or if it does, it's very background and very hidden and doing its own private teaching. But when we assemble and when we show up together and you really do open to receive and you really start to take the energy in and allow it to be transformative, which it has a power to be, the communion is the answer to the question. How can we serve one another? By showing up together, by being present together. And then this energy comes through. Yes, in a way, there's a teacherly function. There's someone who opens to it and disseminates it. Trust me, the teacher is no more valuable to the equation than the individual student or person waiting to receive. It is a collective communion. And one of the things the universe teaches me daily is I am not the end all and the be all of any of this. I am just a hose bringing water to the plants. But I'm telling you, those plants need that water, and being the hose is an exquisite, beautiful experience because it nurtures life. It nurtures the collective experience, the growing, the garden, the blooming of what can be. And we're all here to bloom. We're all here to grow. And in a way, we've been programmed to think we're here to grow spiritually. I know Rudy talked about that a lot, spiritual growth. But let me tell you, the underpinning of spiritual growth is human development, is becoming a human being. The spiritual being that we think we're evolving and growing into something, I rarely see it in people. And when I do, it's often something that is owned by people. And the ownership of it actually kind of puts them in a certain closet or a corner of the spirit of the human experience because it separates them. And really what's wanted here is not separation, but connection, communion. We are here for each other. And when I open and become the hose, I witness this beauty and this exquisite sense of what this is for. When I try to do that just for myself, it goes, okay, it may drip, it may come through a little bit. There's certainly a taste of it. And I also sense because the energy that comes through is so massive and wise, and its appearance for you is for me a signal that my value on the earth and in the world is not Bruce. My value is you serving the us. That's the only value I really have. And it is not a value particular to me. Every one of you can be, and in a way is being taught to be that. You don't have to be that via a teaching. I really found there's so many people out there in my life that the teaching comes through people who have no idea that they're teachers. No idea. I reference my grandchildren a lot, but Eli at 9 years old, Talia at 12, they wake me up over and over and over again with a kind of awareness and present tense and beauty that I benefit from, I grow from. And I take their energy in drips and drabs because I don't see them all the time, but it comes in and it's like a plant outside waiting for this rainstorm for 2 weeks. And then suddenly the rain comes and that plant just goes, yes, yes. We're the same way. Wherever the energy can come from, it's incredible. Blanche walks around our house here and waters the plants with so much love and so much care and so much attention. And the water that she brings to them every week is like the class we're having. Those plants know every week they're going to be tested for how dry they are, and the water is going to be given according to their need. And everybody will get exactly what they have to get, and it will be enough. And I personally hear the plants go, thank you. I feel them go, thank you. This weekly class, everybody sits here in a way to be watered, and that's what's happening. We're just getting watered. Why? Why does the universe do that? Well, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we go through periods of drought and no water, and there's a kind of sadness and a begging and a why me, God, and why aren't I getting nurtured, and why isn't it happening? And those are the questions of spirituality and religion in a way. Why do our plants left to die? Why is a planet left to dry up? I don't know. But I do know I have a wife who takes the watering can and walks around the house twice a week and spends a good deal of time with enormous care, enormous love for these plants. And if you want to see happy plants, that's where they are. Do they show up? No, not exactly. But are they waiting? Yes. You guys come and the water pours through. What is this source that cares about you? What is this source that wants to nurture and water you and knows when you need it, and also knows that there are times where it doesn't provide? It doesn't come through. And that's a very strange experience. It's kind of the point where you go, what's the purpose and meaning of all this? What's the meaning of life if I'm not going to get fed and taken care of and loved and nurtured and seen to all my pleasures and needs are met? What is the purpose of life then? Well, I can only tell you, part of the process of life is that, one, you age, two, there comes a point where the needs you have cannot be met, where the mechanisms of what you are and who you are no longer available. We have plants that dry up, that are not able to take the water. And it's aging. It's called the end of your existence, the end of time, as you may think of it as a person. What is going on here? Well, exactly what's been going on from the beginning of existence. You are a plant that's nurtured until you're not. Until you're not. And the real test of a plant, of a human plant, is, can you trust in the journey when there's no nutrient coming, when there's nobody watering you anymore, when there's nobody remembering that you need to be attended to? Can you hold on to this process? I don't know the answer. I wish I did, because I struggle with it. And I am definitely, as I've expressed week by week, going through this plant dying experience. At the end, it's not what it was. And what's really interesting to me as the plant starts to die is the pleasure I get from looking at all the other plants around me, from seeing all the plants that are alive, from the little occasional drizzle that comes from whatever it comes from, and then this once a week experience of being the source of nourishment, as long as I have a body and a capacity, for others. That's exquisite. It's exquisite. And will that go away? Of course, everything will go away. Rudy went away early, and I went, well, now what? And the thing I learned that from when Rudy went away is he was just a hose, and it still comes. It still comes until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, that's the biggest test of your spiritual journey. How do I accept no watering, nobody caring, nothing showing up, that you don't matter? How do you accept that? Well, if you want, that's the core of the spiritual life. The core of the spiritual life is that the you, the separate, personal, individualized, manifested self, is impermanent, and it doesn't matter. I mean, not that it doesn't matter in the collective, because we all serve each other so dramatically, but it doesn't matter in the ultimate sense that you have to be here to serve the totality, because you don't. And at some point, you're gone. Sorry about that, guys. It's a horrible realization, but you're gone. The interesting thing is that a deep, powerful meditational experience shows you that there is what appears to be something that is not gone. Proof's in the pudding. We'll find out at some point whether that's true. But if you can maintain a certain amount of showing up, communion, being with and for and about others, not just yourself, even up to the very last millisecond of your existence, which is the Christ teaching, if you can just be present for the whole, for the totality, every Sunday morning or every other minute you can figure it out, you will know that the largeness of your life is not personal, it is communal. That you are the manifestation of something extraordinary in a singular and in a global way. And that's what we're here to find out. The spiritual journey, the human journey, is the collective awareness of how important we are to one another. And if you're really understanding your importance to one another, you will make an effort to be with the other. Not just, oh, what about me, God? Make the effort to go with everyone else who's going, what about me, God? And make them feel welcomed, attended to, cared about, and loved. If you can do that and make that your work, your practice in this world, if you can give yourself over to serving and not just receiving, you become part of the community that is, I think, infinite and has eternity at its core. And that's the ride we're on. So why sit every day? Why work? Why do this meditative process? Because it connects you to that incredibly sweet, affirming space that's within you. And some days it will speak back to you, and other days it will go, eh. But you have to stay with it. You just have to stay with it. And then if you can find the collective, and again, we have that on Sunday mornings, you can find it, I'm sure, elsewhere in so many ways, even going to a movie, with other people in the theater, gives you a sense of the collective. And it's very satisfying that we're all in this together. You watch a sporting event on TV and you feel connected to the whole. I don't know why it's so important, but it is important. And your experience of being part of a group is exquisite. I don't know how many of you watched James Corden's Late Show, but it just finished after 8 years. And for some reason during the pandemic, I got really caught up by it. And I found out I was laughing a lot. And I was during the pandemic, thanks to James Corden. There were other guys as well, but he really kind of got to me. And as his show ended, I just experienced unbelievable sadness. I took a picture of all the major people on the show up on my camera just so I could have it. I don't do that kind of thing. And yesterday, and this is again not Bruce at all, I watched his last show sitting down in the afternoon. I never watched television in the afternoon, and I was in near tears because this purveyor of happiness and laughter for many, many thousands or perhaps millions of people was going away forever. And this finality had such beauty in it. And this guy had such exquisite awareness of how to do it, both in what he said to the public and how he ended in song, which was his mechanism. And all I could feel was, may all partings be as beautiful as that. May we all be as wise as that to learn how to make our goodbyes appropriately. And yes, to feel how everything comes and goes. Nothing is forever. Nothing is forever. Even this gathering that we have is not forever, but it has such immediacy and richness, and we are a collective support system to make us joyous in the world until we can't. And then we have to create other systems, other formalities or places we can go that will give us the thing we need in our life. After Rudy died, Blanche and I made a pilgrimage and we moved to Indiana to be with more collection of people. I gave up, I was a museum curator in New York. You don't walk away from a museum curator, but I did. Why? Because being a museum curator did not give me the joy of being in a community of people who were together working for this really beautiful, exquisite experience of the collective us. I have no regrets about walking away from that job. And all I can tell you is every time I have sought out community, spiritual community, I have been given the gift of touching what it is to know you. And trust me, if I look at you on the screen right now, you have no idea how radiant and beautiful you are. I'm not ignoring you guys sitting in the room either. The beauty is exquisite. And I want you to know that. I want you to know how appreciative I am that you show up and that this entire experience is only happening because you do. So thank you for showing up. We have two screens today, so I'm going to ask for questions, but I have to maybe go back and forth between two screens. So now we have only one screen, I think. Okay, good. Does anyone have a question at all? Okay. I said everything that needs to be said, and I'll answer all the questions that needed to be answered. So I'm glad that's the case. I love you guys, truly love you guys. And thank you all for being here. And, we'll keep it going. Interestingly, during the week, I questioned the whole idea of keeping it going just because I go, how can I do that? Luckily, it doesn't care about me. So if I just get my body in this seat, it does what it's going to do. So far, so good. We'll keep it going. Love you.